WNST, Tassel, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively taking the Maryland Crab Cake Tour to two places that are very, very near and dear to my heart. We're going to be at Greenmount Station on Friday after the Ravens game, the Tampa game. If you hear this in the aftermath, hey, man, it's all good. We're going to have some fun around here with our Maryland Lottery friends. I'll be giving some Ravens scratch-offs away. Roz is hooking me up with something new. I'm not sure exactly what the new ones are going to be next month, but by the time I get to Drug City down in Dundalk next week, before the New Orleans Ravens game, we're going to be doing that on Friday at the Fountain. I didn't even know Drug City had a crab cake. I run into Chuck at Costas. Only I can go to Costas in Dundalk and wind up walking out of there doing the crab cake tour somewhere down the street with full blessings from the Trianti Philos family. Seth Elkin joins us now from the Maryland Lottery. He's here to talk about hundreds of millions of dollars, giving the money away and Halloween and all the fun stuff that they're doing around there. What's going on, man? They sent you to me this week. You were supposed to be last week. Doug came in. John's going to be back talking about all of this mobile sports wagering stuff going on, but it's good to visit with you. It's especially good after the Steelers lose.
I knew it wasn't going to be very long before you brought that up. So
part of my intro, man. That's my charm.
You'll have
brother.
Plenty of opportunities to continue ribbing me about Steelers losses this season. I have a feeling.
Well, ever since the Guardians went away and the Browns lost to the Ravens, I'm having a hard time locating John Martin.
I'm sure he'll be back with you next week, but for right now,
and he's going to have a lot of explaining to do.
You're going to have fun at my expense this week with the Steelers. Although, the fun thing is everybody after that debacle against Buffalo a couple of weeks ago, everybody kept talking about, well, this is the Steelers' worst loss in 33 years. And, I'm showing my age here. I'm old enough to vividly remember that loss 33 years ago. It was 51-0 against Cleveland in the season opener. That was quite an eye opener. And then they lost 41-10 the following week to Cincinnati. So you're in an 0-2 hole in the division. You've been outscored 92-10 in 2 weeks. And, what if I'm going to play ESPN 30 for 30. What if I told you that team that got outscored 92-10 in 2 weeks made the playoffs that year and was less than 15 minutes away from making it to the AFC title game, which they were. They snuck in as a wild card, and they won the wild card game in Houston in overtime, and they went to Denver and were less than a quarter away from beating the Broncos at Mile High.
Well, this has been a crazy year here that we will talk about in those terms, because I do think the Ravens are certainly capable of making the playoffs. And if you look at their schedule and you look at where the Steelers and the Browns are, you'd say, okay, I mean, right now, if you go down to sports wagering, so, you like the Ravens to make the playoffs, it's not a long shot, the Ravens. Yeah. So knowing all of that, but if you were to say that through the first 7 games, they had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter in every game, and they're only 4-3. You would say, and some would say, well, they must be a pretty good football team to have a double-digit lead, right? Like that, not many teams can go through 7 weeks and have a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter of every single game. They've done that, but there's something about that would be like part of a 30 for 30 if Lamar wins the Super Bowl in Arizona, because it has been treacherous. I mean, it's been monumental collapses for this team, and yet they're sort of dusted off. No matter what happens against Tampa and New Orleans, it doesn't even matter. Like they're going to be a factor in the season, despite having these horrific meltdowns on the defense.
You got Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC that are the cream of the crop, and then there's a whole bunch of other teams that are, that you can't rule out at this point. And, the Ravens are certainly part of that. Although I gotta say, I get a great deal of enjoyment from watching them collapse and lose in the fourth quarter as a Steelers fan. It's just comes with the territory. But
since the last time we got together, I hung out with Tomlin. I went up to Latrobe, right?
Right.
Did I tell you that story, or was that before?
I don't know if I heard that. But I knew you went up there though.
Well, I went up because we were out in Western Maryland, and they only train there 10 days. They're not there much, right? They just go in and out the beginning of camp the way the Ravens did Westminster, and they hadn't done it in 3 years,
right?
And
because of COVID, right?
To some degree, it's not that popular. They're still in the way that Bisciotti pulled it out of Westminster, a decade ago now, right? And there are still people in Westminster that have feelings about that. I'll be up in Carroll County at Greenmount Station. But Pittsburgh, that still happened. And I felt like a goof. I wasn't going to do the tour that early in, that same week. And I woke up at Deep Creek Lake and I thought, how can I not go up there and be a part? And it wound up being a little crappy. It rained and whatever, but it was still experientially and it wasn't even crowded that day. Like they had moved the practice to the morning because of the rain. So fans didn't, there were only a couple hundred people there. It was very intimate and very like kind of neat, and so why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, I think that idea of going away to training camp is sort of from a bygone era at this point. Most teams, really don't do it all that much anymore. As you mentioned, we were with the Ravens, the same thing. But I think for a lot of Steelers fans, it certainly brings back a lot of memories of the Super Bowl years in the 70s. And back then when training camp would be weeks, they'd be up there a couple of weeks in August.
Have you been there before?
I have. Yeah. I have.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like, why would you not? I mean, but where are you from originally? Are you a Pittsburgh guy?
Right. Yeah, I am from Beaver County. So it's to the northwest of the city a little bit.
You and Joe Namath.
Joe Namath and Mike Ditka and Tony Dorsett and Ty Law and lots of other people. Yes.
Only thing I have in common with Joe Namath, I had a shag carpet one day, and like that. Seth Elkin is here from the Maryland Lottery. We're usually promoting the fun and games. I'll be giving these away while I have a handful maybe left. Ra's gonna be hooking me up with some new stuff. Top prize $20,000 here. Still got some great prizes out for the Ravens scratch offs. You guys are doing like the game of life now. Those TV commercials look fun. We're running the commercials here as well. But you go from season to season. I guess the one thing I would say is when the jackpot's $700 million. That's that's like Lamar and Aaron Judge together, right? Then you'd have a tax situation.
Well, when the jackpot gets to that kind of level, the interest in it just takes on a life of its own. And I mean, it's fun for us when that happens. We're in the fun business to begin with, so we have fun with it no matter what. But when it gets to this level, it takes on a life of its own. And the other day I was in the gym in the morning before work, and I look up on the TV, and the Today Show is running a story about Powerball, which doesn't happen every day. So then that tells you the interest level that there is. And a lot of people start buying tickets who maybe don't always play lottery games, but they see a jackpot in the $600 million, $700 million range, and they say, let me get one and let me be part of it. And I think it takes on a life of its own because of that. And it's fun for us because we're getting a lot of inquiries from people, again, who maybe don't play all that often. They want to make sure they understand how the game works. And as you're seeing more tickets being sold, obviously for each drawing, there are more and more tickets sold, which means there are more and more combinations of the numbers that are in play for each drawing. And that leads to more wins. I mean, last week alone, we had 5 different winners at that $50,000 level, which is the third tier level prize in Powerball. One of them at the power play, so he won $150,000. He tripled his prize. One of the other $50,000 tickets was a group of 6 co-workers who went in together and bought their tickets, and they were from various locations, bought their tickets in Laurel, but they won a $50,000 prize and came in the other day. They were here, all 6 of them.
So 6 people splitting $50,000. I mean, it's still like, that's a nice day downtown to come see you, take a picture, right? I mean, they could buy like a little down payment on something, or go take a nice vacation, or put a little money away. That's kind of nice, right?
And it's something fun. We see that happen, especially when the jackpot gets big like this. People go in together, and it makes it, when you play in a group, or whether it's coworkers or relatives.
My wife was like the queen of that. Always, always, always. She's still playing. By the way, when you say, you made me smile, and I had to go through my picture file. You're like, when the jackpot gets really big, people are inclined to play. I snapped this picture of my wife. This is at the Royal Farms. We went in for chicken late at night. It's about a week and a half ago. She'd been gone. And this is her literally playing the Powerball when it got crazy. When it got to, it was probably only 400 then, right? So she got in, she played, got her tickets. I mean, she's second chase. She got the app. She's doing it all. But my wife would be guilty as charged on that. My wife loves to play the big jackpots.
Well, that's great for us. I mean, we love to see that, and certainly the interest level picks up when the jackpots are this high. Like I said, somebody who maybe isn't a lottery player sees a story on the Today Show or sees a story on the news somewhere, and they say, "Hey, let me go get a ticket." And that's great. We love to see that, and it
so
makes.
What would you do if you hit? I know you can't play because
right.
Sponsors, agents, and Nestor are not allowed to play. But like, what would be the first thing you would do if you hit it big?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Probably.
I know what I would do. I would not tell anybody, and I would just go away for a week or two and just not be stupid, like eating, drinking, whatever. I just would go somewhere and clear my head. And that would not have been the answer at 28 for me. I would have to really think about what I would want to do. And I have a bucket list a mile long, right? Even though but I wouldn't do anything right away. I would be a little more reserved about it in the beginning.
I probably would do something like that. I would probably do some practical things. I would take care of things in the house that need to be taken care of. But This is
You wouldn't
really not
sell
that
the
much.
house if you had 700 million?
No, I don't know. I would try to keep it quiet. Maybe no one would know that I lived there if I kept it quiet, if I didn't do too much in the house. But I think it's not that much of an extravagance. But I would probably get Pittsburgh Penguins season tickets, and maybe Steelers season tickets. I'd spring for that. So, and I'd still have plenty left over after that.
Well,
but
you know, you're buying stock low with the Steelers right now, right? Like it's the first time ever. Like it feels dirty of me to pick on you with the Steelers, right? You know what I mean? Like I don't feel good about. I mean, you know that there's some building to be done there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
How about this? Is Tomlin going to survive this as a fan? What do you believe?
I think so. Yeah. This
I
is
hope
not
so.
this is a team that's had 3 coaches in 50 years. So in more than 50 years.
And they got a very, very competent one.
Yeah. And a lot of people make a lot of this thing that he hasn't had a losing season. And people like to say, well, that's not that big a deal. Well, it is a big deal. It means you're a contender every year. It means you're in the mix. You're in that hunt of teams that are at least in the hunt to make the playoffs every year. And not every team can say that. There are probably, our friend John would probably like to say the Cleveland Browns were in the hunt every year and not having losing seasons. So,
well, as an Oriole fan, watching this come back to life and watching with the Phillies, and I mean, you mentioned the Steelers and you talk about Baltimore all you want. Both of us have been fighting with the Philadelphia people all of our lives, right? Like this new prosperity of perfect Eagles, and they're even going to play on Thursday night against Houston in the middle of the world. I mean, like the thing's perfectly laid out for them to grease the poles up there and try to go jump on them next week at some point, right? But this has been really, and I'm a Padres fan, right? So watching San Diego and Philadelphia come into this, there is a civic part of this where you're waiting on the Pirates, right? Like literally.
That might be the most, that would be the dream that I would do if I really hit a huge jackpot, $700 million jackpot. Maybe I would buy an ownership share in the Pirates. And
Buy the Pirates. Okay.
And try and get them turned around, since nobody else apparently wants to do it. So,
well, I've been talking all week about the new arena that just got named CFG Bank Arena. And I was at the event the other night and dreaming the dream of all of this stuff. But there is like a community part of all of it where your memories are made in these arenas. And I said early in my career, if I hit it big, other than buying a radio station, which I did, anybody wants it, give me a call. It's available. But I said I would have bought a minor league hockey team. I love the Skipjacks that much, and they were a part of your Penguins for a period of time. And me and old Gene Ubriaco and Mario Lemieux back in the day, and his brother Alain Lemieux from Montreal. I would have bought a minor league hockey team because I loved that. If I had hit the lottery early in the 90s, when Buddy Rugo would come on the show back in 1998, and Buddy Rugo has the name and I knew Buddy well. Buddy would come in, he'd say, "You're going to hit the lottery, you're going to get 10 million," because that was a lot of money then, right? I'd be like, first thing I do is buy a minor league franchise for $500,000, name them the Baltimore Nestors, and have them play at I guess it was the First Mariners, it's the Baltimore Arena then. It wasn't Royal Farms Arena yet. But that would have been my dream, to own a minor league hockey team. So I'll tip my cap to you, because I wouldn't want to own the Orioles or the Ravens at this point. Too much work, Give me a minor league something. I'll stay under the radar,
I second that. Once the arena's upgraded, I know they're getting ready to, or planning at least to make some upgrades on it. But boy, it would be nice to see Baltimore have a hockey team again, maybe an AHL team. I think it would be cool.
There you go, Seth. Here's it. If you and I get in on a ticket. Not that we could do that, but if we could and we hit it big, that's what we would do. All right. You've reawakened my dream that if I had $700 million, would I want a minor league hockey team for Baltimore? That would be something I'd have to think about on this beach that I'm going to for 2 weeks. I would have pen and paper. I'd be like, all right, all the things I really want to do, see the Northern Lights, do a safari. Okay, I'll do all that. But what am I going to do with the money other than philanthropic, try to give to charity? I would do all of that. But then I would be like, what would be my toy? What would we name our hockey team in Baltimore? What would we call them?
Well, you know what? I mean, you could revive the Skipjacks name.
No. I could buy the Clippers name back. You're right. I could do Skipjacks or Clipper. I could name them the Blades if I wanted to. Little WHA reference for you there. Did you know Gordie Howe played a hockey game at the arena? Did you know that?
No, did not know that.
WHA Blades played like 3 little. Google it. Google it. 1975, 76. Trust me.
I actually just saw last night's funny. You mentioned we get into the skipjack conversation. I saw some retailer online that sells defunct hockey team jerseys, and I saw a Baltimore Skipjacks jersey, and it caught my eye because it was the black and gold. It was from that era when they were the Penguins minor league affiliate.
First, how much?
It was inexpensive. It was less than $100. So I was tempted, you know.
Oh, dude, that would look great on you. Oh, so was it the circle skipjacks? Like,
right.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Dude, you got to do that's navigational, man. That's good.
It stopped me in my tracks when I saw it because it was black and gold, and then
it's got everything you need on it, Seth. It's got all the colors of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it says Baltimore on it.
And it says Baltimore, yeah. Well, that might be the rub. I don't know,
dude. If you wear that, if your parents give you that for the holidays, and and I see you when you come back, home from good eating up with Yins and Not in up there, if you come on and you're wearing that. I have friends that have it. I can lend it out to you. You would look good in that. I want to see you in. Seth Elkin is here. He is our friend from the Maryland. What's your official title other than dude from Pittsburgh who talks lottery with me once in a while when John can't do it?
We can go with that if you want, but I'm assistant director of communications.
So you help write the press releases.
I help with press release. It's been a real mix of duties here. It's not only keeping track of what's going on with the lottery, obviously, but the sports wagering thing has really taken up a lot of bandwidth for a lot of people here at the agency, particularly, of course, on the gaming side, on the licensing side, where they're really, really working very hard on it. But the number of inquiries that we're getting about sports betting from media, from the public, is just really very large. And
it's a different business than the business you were in, right? Yeah, you've been at the lottery a while. For all of you, it's like, this is new. You knew the tidal wave was kind of coming. I was up at Perryville and Hollywood Casino with Dwayne Starks and with Todd Heap. I might be doing some business up there. It's lovely. It's fantastic. I am spending Friday, and I mentioned this at the beginning, at Greenmount Station, where they have been working toward getting open this weekend. I'm going to go check in with Chris on Friday. And I've known Chris 15 years. I've done shows up there before my wife's illness, during her illness, just great people up in Carroll County that have been trying hard. And I've explained this, and John and I have been through this, that it's a different thing when you've had Vegas casinos for 50 years in your business than trying to do this small at a local level. And this would be for any new industry in the state that's regulated, for sure. And the biggest thing about this is being on the up and up. And I talked to Doug about that last week too, that I thought about this last week because I was in Perryville at 11 in the morning a couple of weeks ago. Should have been at the Ravens-Giants game, but that's another story for another day. And I was seeing people lined up in front of the kiosk and making their bets for the day, right? Insane. I felt like I'm in Vegas, but I'm in Cecil County, right? It's beautiful, and it's got great coffee over there and some muffins, and we had some delicious shrimp cocktails. Delicious. I'm watching these people, and I'm thinking, this isn't their first time at the rodeo. Where were they betting before? And how was it benefiting the community? And where was that money going? And was it going to organized crime? Was it going into out of the all of that? And I'm thinking, this is a good thing. These people want to wager. They want to do it responsibly. And we're now at a point where, when John said to me last month, almost $1 million the first month toward the state, towards state revenue. And I'm thinking, well, people would say, all this work we got to get to here, it's going to grow. It's going to grow exponentially because people want to play. It's something they want. It's something that we voted on as a community. It took years and years and years. And now that it's here, it's going to be a good thing for Greenmount Station. It's going to be a good thing for Hampstead. It's going to, and I want to encourage everybody to do it responsibly. But you guys getting the calls on this these were calls you were not getting 2 or 3 years ago, right?
No, correct. We've had to learn a whole lot about this industry in a short amount of time. But I think, when you mentioned Greenmount and some of the other locations beyond the casinos that are going to have sportsbook operations, I think that's really a key part of this. The legislature wanted a sports betting industry in the state that included a broad range of businesses. That wasn't just going to be big companies, big corporations. They wanted locally owned businesses to have a role in this.
And I would say, just to interject this, cannabis has the same issue coming up right now. And it's the same. And I talk about these issues, that new things that are state legislated that used to be taboo or used to be go in the alley and find that. I can't fathom that we're not forward thinking, and we are. And the most forward thinking is the mobile side, which is the next thing for you guys. And it needs to be on the up and up. And that's why it's taken, everybody wants it open yesterday, and then they want to complain when it's done the wrong way. And you all have been, and Swark, everybody trying to make this on the up and up. I don't know how else to say it. I'm from Dundalk, you know. I mean,
I think that's the important thing. You know, what Swark is evaluating when it starts awarding licenses are these locally owned businesses that are going to actually hold the license. Everybody says, well, flip the switch and turn on the FanDuels and the DraftKings and so forth, with the big companies that everybody knows. But it's the locally owned businesses that are going to partner with those well-known sports books. That's who Swark licenses. And they want to look at that and make sure and do their due diligence to make sure that the ownership structures of those are set up the way that Swark outlined in its regulations, to make sure that there is a meaningful role for locally owned businesses in this market and in this industry. So that's why it's taking the time that it's taking. The due diligence is important. That's what was set forth in the law, and that's what's being carried out. And I know everybody's waiting impatiently. We get plenty of impatient emails from people wanting to know when they can start betting on their phone, but it's coming. It's unfortunately, it hasn't come as quickly as any of us would like. We would have liked for it to move quicker than it has, but we're almost there.
You all apologize for it all the time, and I said to John, I'm like, you know what? Do it the right way. I'm one of those guys that can wait for my meal. Like literally, no, like seriously. I mean, good, fast, cheap. Pick two, right? And I feel better that this thing wasn't rushed out. I've seen things screwed up in my lifetime that were rushed out. Healthcare that went online that nobody could get, access. It's crazy stuff that's happened in my scope of time, that when this thing goes online, I don't want a scandal. Like the early fantasy stuff, that there was bad things going on, and you don't want that, especially on the mobile side, right?
Yep.
Where the safety, I've been taking advantage of trying to have contests online that people are stuffing, like all of the security, all the firewalls, all those things like you would want for your bank or your securities or wherever, that the mobile side of this is airtight. It has to be. It has to be for full confidence.
Yeah, it's a complicated business. You don't just snap your fingers and get up and running, and a lot of I's to dot and a lot of T's to cross. And hopefully we are very, very close at this point.
Dude, you're a great spokesperson trying to explain this for the audience, and I appreciate you don't come on often because you're a Steelers fan and you couldn't stomach that. But I want to encourage you, while the Steelers are playing like this, that I need you on more often when Martin's not here. And I know Carol runs for me, even though she's a Ravens fan. Tell her to come on more often too when the Ravens are doing well. Now, now that the Ravens are going to win some games here the next couple of weeks, because we got some cupcakes coming up here, allegedly. There's no easy games in this league, right?
No, there aren't.
Know that.
And enjoy this while it lasts for the Steelers.
You see what happened to Belichick the other night, sleeping on the Bears, right?
I think his time is come and gone, perhaps. You think?
Ooh, well, you know what? We're doing this on the eve of Tom Brady's. Maybe I said this is not the week to be shoveling dirt on Tom Brady at 45 because he stunk in Carolina the other day. I'm like, no. By the time people listen to this, Tom Brady may have thrown 5 touchdowns against the Ravens. So I don't dish on Tomlin. I don't dish on Brady. I'm going to leave Patrick Mahomes alone. I'm even going to leave Josh Allen alone, although they haven't won anything in Buffalo. I remind him of that from time to time. By the way, my wife is like rooting for the Bills kind of secretly a little bit because she just wants to see Rasig happy. My Bills friends.
I have a former coworker of mine from back in my news business days, is originally from Western New York. And I was talking to her about this, and she said it's so nerve-wracking now as a Bills fan for so many years.
Because you might win.
Right, exactly. And it's important. Every game is important. Now, for so many years, we were irrelevant. It didn't matter. It was just the enjoyment of sitting there and watching the Bills play because that's what you did. And now it's meaningful, and you're on pins and needles all the time. So,
well, these Phillies fans are going to ride that wave this week, aren't they? As underdogs, right?
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be Houston, but I'm not sure which of these teams I want to see win, because I don't know about you. I'm still a little bitter about the Houston Astros scandal from a couple of years ago with the banging on the bucket and cheating in the
winners never cheat and cheaters never win. And yeah, I listen, I got a soft spot for Dusty. He was always nice to me. I got a soft spot for Trey Mancini. Who doesn't, right? But There's a part where, like, My cousin's an Astro fan. She's down in Katy, Texas. Like John McClain, the general, the grandfather of all sports writers in Houston, legendary. When he comes on with me, he's a journalist, right? Who wrote about the Flakegate and every cheating louse there's ever been, right? And even Bud Adams. And when he comes on, he'll swear that like Altuve wasn't wired, and I'm like, y'all, you should have given up your title, and then we would talk about this one as being more legitimate. Until then, I don't want to see the Houston Astros win tiddlywinks. I don't want to see them win anything.
The one thing I will say is that I kind of like the idea of having seen a team bottom out like they did. I mean, they completely bottomed out several years ago. Remember, they're the worst team in baseball and built themselves back up.
And then they cheated to win.
And then they cheated. Yeah. But they built a pretty good team in the process, though.
Banging on trash cans. Dude, this is perfect way to leave this, right? We talk about waiting on mobile. We talked about, you all were sweating bullets, John, everybody a year ago this week. We didn't have it. Now we got it. I see it. It's here. It's in action. The ball's rolling. It's on the up and up. It took a little more time, but it was like concrete. It took a little more time to set, but it's more the foundation sets a little better for all of this. And I would say the same thing. You don't want people banging on trash cans at the Maryland Lottery or at sports wagering. You want it to be on the up and up. And I think that is also, look, man, now that sports wagering's on, I can do a whole week on the Cleveland Browns, nobody moving at the line of scrimmage and the officials not getting, like, that's for another segment that the leagues have to get the calls right too. Right. But you got to get everything right, and we're giving you some time to do that. And there's going to be some news later in the week, from what I understand too, out on the interwebs about who the partners are all going to be. So I think next week when John comes back, we'll wind up talking about all that. In the meantime, go Ravens, go Steelers on your part, And if they keep losing, come on back next month before Thanksgiving. Good to have you on during holidays.
Hopefully I don't oblige you on that.
That kid might be able to play, right?
I hope so. We all hope so.
Not all of us. We're all worried about Joe Burrow and Lamar's contract situation right now. Seth Elkin is my friend. He's at the Maryland Lottery. Great education on all things mobile, and it's coming. I'm going to be at Greenmount Station doing the Maryland Lottery thing with our friends. I'm going to be giving away the handful of Ravens tickets I have left. Next week, we're going to be at Drug City, where I bought all my wrestling magazines, where I bought all my baseball cards and football cards when I was a kid. So it's a little bit of a homecoming for me. I bought all my videos there in the 1980s as well for $1. Never rewound the damn things, kept them a couple days too long. We'll talk about that next week. We're going to be at the Fountain at Drug City next Friday before the Saints game. So come on out 2 to 5, say hello in Dundalk. And they have Maryland Lottery tickets there as well. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570. Towson, Baltimore, eating crab cakes, talking lottery, talking sports wagering, trying to have some fun. We are BaltimorePositive.com.